Good morning. Welcome to American Live. How are you guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the program. How are you? Let me set my hat and make sure that I am aesthetically pleasing. How's it going? What's happening? It's almost the end of the week. It's Thursday, February 12th, 2026. Valentine's Day is coming up. Nigerians call it Valentine's Day. I have nothing planned for Valentine's Day other than maybe to take my wife to the movies. She wants to see Send Help. So maybe we'll go catch that on Valentine's Day and I'll probably stop at the store and grab some. You see, I'm not a romantic guy like that. And Kate calls me out all the time. Ah, Rich, you're not romantic. I'm not a flowers guy. So what am I gonna do? Buy flowers and then a couple of days later he dies and then I think I should improve upon my romantic skills for those of you who are watching. Maybe you can give me some tips. So Valentine's Day to me, she wants to see a movie, fine. We'll go see a movie. We don't really do dinners or anything like that. We kind of just keep it simple. We don't go all out like that on Valentine's Day. So welcome to the show. To my right, I'm also recording this vertically. I'm gonna clip this and put it on Instagram, Shorts, because we want to build those platforms as well, not just YouTube. And if you're watching this on Instagram or any other platform out there, you want to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is our primary platform, YouTube. We are all about YouTube. I love the other networks. I love the other platforms, but YouTube is kind of like what I started on. It's just the easiest for me. So what do you guys have planned for Valentine's Day? What are you doing for your significant other? Are you guys going to see a movie? Are you going to see, get dinner? Are you a flower guy? Because I'm not. Are you romantic? Because I am not. My love language is odd. So I wouldn't consider myself a romantic guy. But I love my wife though. But I'm not one to go and buy bouquets of flowers and chocolates and sprinkle bouquets all over the floor and all that stuff, the bed and all that stuff. Maybe I should work on it. Because for the past 8.5 years that I've been together with Kate, she's been calling me out from day one. Rich, you need to be more romantic. You need to be more romantic. I want more flowers. Flowers are gonna die in 2 days. But anyway, welcome to the program. Nigerian guy here, sitting here talking to you guys from Las Vegas, Nevada. Visit my website, embericat.com. And obviously, you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, share, and comment if you're interested in enterprise markets. We talk about high-level enterprise topics. And our primary corridor is US, Nigeria. Those are the two main corridors that we focus on. We occasionally dabble outside. So we talk about geopolitics, we talk about enterprise, we talk about business, we talk about investments, we talk about exports. I was actually on a phone call with my cousin this morning. I'll tell you guys what people, Nigerians, are tapping into. So he is currently right now in the healthcare space. He's getting his certification in healthcare, and what he wants to do, he wants to open a staffing firm, a staffing company. Because I asked him, I'm like, what is your ultimate goal with this? You've been at this now for a few years, undergoing his certifications, he's writing his exams. And see, those are the sort of conversations that I like to have with people, with other Nigerians abroad. Oh, yeah, my cousin is based in New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey is where he lives. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. So maybe that's something you guys can consider tapping into, but you got to be really serious about this, whatever it is you want to do. So because I asked him, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go and work for the hospital? Like, what is your ultimate objective when all of this is said and done? My cousin, I'm 40, I'm gonna be 48 in June. My cousin is turning 51. And we chopped it up a little bit today. We were just kind of talking about, man, how do you envision the decade of your 50s, like from 50 to 60? What does that decade look like when you visualize that decade? What does it look like for you? I had that feeling this morning when I was taking the kids to school. I was taking Nelly to daycare. I was kind of sitting like, okay, Rich, I am I'm a middle-aged man, mid-century old. I'll be 50 in 2 years. What is the next decade? What is that 50 to 60 gonna look like? Because I don't want to be an old man with money. I want to be a young man with money. Just kind of, so we chopped it up this morning. Those are the sort of conversations like we like to have on this platform. So what he wants to do, he wants to, when it's all said and done, after he's received all of his certifications, he wants to open up a staffing company, a recruiting company to to help companies staff nurses and doctors and like travel nurses and traveling healthcare providers. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to work for an hospital. He wants to own his own staffing agency, which I think is actually super nice because there's low overhead when it comes to opening and running a staffing company. All you need, what's up, CJ? Looking fully Niger today. Seriously. This is one of the outfits that I got made in Akwa Ibom, and I'm going to explain it a little bit. But let me finish with this, what my cousin is tapping into. Things like this is what I like sharing with Nigerians. So he wants to open a staffing agency to help staff healthcare workers. CJ, you're in the healthcare space. That's what he wants to do. Like I said, it's a low overhead business. All you need is a computer, a phone, internet connectivity, and the gift of communication. If you can communicate, you can run a successful staffing agency. You also need to have domain expertise. And that's one thing that I commended my cousin on is he actually went to school, is getting his certification to learn everything he possibly can about the healthcare space. So then he can start pipelining healthcare candidates that he could then um, uh, be a recruiter and work with hospitals to staff healthcare candidates. Something like that is, if you guys are interested and you're looking for like low overhead business, a staffing or a recruitment agency is something that you could staff with. You can start with yourself and maybe eventually bring in an assistant, but you also have to attend healthcare trade shows and healthcare conventions and start meeting people. There are always doctors that are looking for help. I'm telling you, it's a rewarding business, but you got to have domain expertise. And then with that domain expertise, you throw in artificial intelligence to just help you wrap everything up. So I'm very proud of my cousin, 51 years old, completely going a different direction in his career. And we talked about Nigeria. He's actually going to Nigeria in July. One of his buddies, all these guys, we all grew up together in Nigeria, in Lagos. This my cousin. We all used to wrestle in Ikeja. We all grew up in Lagos. And then eventually we all found ourselves abroad and we're all doing great things abroad. So one of our childhood friends is much, he's 3 years older than me, but we all kind of used to hang out. I was a little Richard then. I was a baby. We always say hang out in Nigeria. We would run and wrestle. So one of our boys, Emeka, is celebrating his 50th birthday in Lagos this summer. It's rainy season in Lagos though. So my cousin was asking me if I can show up and go. I'm like, man, I'm considering it. I'm considering it because July, summertime, Kate is out of school for the summer break, and Kate generally goes home to visit her parents in Minnesota. And I'm usually here by myself for like 2 weeks alone. And then eventually I will join them in Minnesota for a few days. And then we all fly back to Vegas together. So I'm thinking maybe I'll use this time to go to Nigeria while Kate is with the girls in Minnesota with my in-laws. And then my ultimate goal this year, if nothing else happens, I want to take my family to Nigeria for Christmas for the first time. So anyway, one of our friends, Emeka, he's based here in the US as well. He's celebrating his 50th birthday in Lagos, and he wants to just kind of bring boys together. Let's hang out. Let's go to the beach. Let's chill. So it's something I'm considering doing. CJ, he wants to do it in US or Nigeria. No, he wants to do it here in the USA. He wants to have his recruitment firm is here in Jersey. I wouldn't right now, if I were advising you, I would say focus first in the US market. Hone your US expertise first. Eventually, you can expand to Nigeria because there's a shortage of healthcare professionals in Nigeria. I think there's one doctor for every like 7,000 patients from the last research that I did. So Nigeria is hurting for healthcare professionals, but another problem is healthcare professionals in Nigeria are also fleeing the country because they can't afford them. Nigerian healthcare employers can't really afford healthcare talent. So what a lot of healthcare professionals are doing now in Nigeria, once they've completed their studies or what have you, most of them are looking outwards. They're looking outside of Nigeria. And countries like the USA, UK, those Western countries, they actually can pay better. So respect any healthcare professional you see in Nigeria right now because they have an opportunity to travel out. So the ones that are back home helping as best as they can, they're probably doing it due to the love of the country or their fellow citizens. They are not really there doing it for the money because Nigeria cannot afford to pay, recruit, pay, and also sustain healthcare professionals back home. CJ, you are in the healthcare field now. Would you work in Nigeria? Could Nigeria afford somebody with your skill set? Probably not. And if you were to ever go back to work in the healthcare sector, CJ, in Nigeria, you're probably going to do it because you love Nigeria and you love, but then again, love doesn't pay bills. Oh. Love does not put money on the table. Love doesn't put clothes on your back. I'm talking about clothes where they wear so. This material, I purchased it. Oh, by the way, imported though. Imported material. Nigeria doesn't have a textile industry, sector. So what I'm wearing is imported material, but the design and the tailoring was done in Akwa Ibom State. I used to have it was actually a full suit, top and bottom. But I lost the bottom because of the quality of when I put it in the washing machine and it tumbles and tumbles, man, the seams just started coming off and it started ripping again. Poor quality material, even though the design is nice, the print, I love the print. And I actually like the design, but the quality of the material is really suspect. So occasionally, I'll mix it. As you can see, I'm doing a blend of Western wear with my hat and a blend of native wear. And then I just have jeans on right now. So when I move out into the real world, every time I dress like this, people always stop me, man. Especially when I used to wear the up and down. Oh man, I like your suit. I like your suit. Where'd you get it? I get complimented a lot when I wear Nigerian clothes out. And me, I just like to blend and mix it up. There are some days that I've actually worn this and I threw a jacket over it. I just kind of like experimenting. Once upon a time, I used to own a men's wear shop. I was in the fashion space for quite a while, for quite some time. I used to own a physical retail men's shop where I sold men's accessories. But those days are long gone, you know. COVID-19 killed that business. My core clientele at the time were business professionals. When they couldn't go to work anymore, everybody started wearing t-shirts and sitting at home in their pajamas. That was what killed that business. And that menswear hasn't recovered since, especially now with like remote work and all that stuff. Most people are not interested in fashion anymore like they used to. No, they are very underpaid. You think I like Canada winter. So for you guys who don't know, CJ is a Nigerian based in Canada. I know that Canadian winter is killing you. And CJ, so sorry for what happened in Canada. My Canadian neighbors with that stuff that happened. I don't want to say it, but those who have been paying attention understands what recently happened in Canada. So my heart goes off. We deal with that, man, occasionally here and there in the US. Man, honestly. So hats off. My heart goes off to all our Canadian neighbors that are experiencing this issue right now that just happened in Canada a couple of days ago. So Nigerian healthcare professionals are gravely underpaid. Those in Niger, gravely underpaid. Medicine is a problem. You guys saw what's going on right now with the fake medicines, and then NAFDAC is cracking down on that. Nigeria needs to improve its healthcare sector. Maybe that will bleed into the today's topic. Does Nigerian government own any hospitals? If they do, they better start divesting. If the Nigerian state government owns hospitals today, sell it to the private sector because you guys are incapable of managing hospitals. Western Canada, so closer to you, terrible. BC, British Columbia was what this happened, where this happened. Anyway, we are not going to delve too much into it. The authorities are handling it. You guys will recover. CJ says, I love Canada, but this is where I make my money. For sure now. Money there abroad, though. But CJ, that Canadian dollar where they make, so I beg, go invest for Nigeria. CJ, maybe you can start like a Canadian healthcare recruitment company like my cousin is doing. Maybe you can just help. Maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe you can help give Nigerian healthcare professionals a pathway to Canada or something. So here, guys. So my friend of mine, my old boss when I was in the army, she has a PhD in psychology. I'm gonna bring her on the program one day. I'm gonna bring her on the program one day. So she has a PhD in psychology, and what she wants to do is she wants to, because she already made her money in the US. She wants to go to a place like Nigeria and offer psychologist services. Because Nigeria, man, I know this is not as popular, but there's a lot of psychiatric problems going on. There's a lot of mental problems going on. Unlike the Western world where we have solutions for people, like I said, this situation with Canada, they tied it to mental health. There's a lot of mental health issues happening in Nigeria right now, and the majority of the people there can't afford to seek professional help as far as mental health goes. And my cousin and I, we talked about a little bit of that today. We talked a little bit about that today. Because I was asking him, how's everything? How's the family? And he was like, man, Rich, man, just for my mental health, I blocked some people off for a while so I can just focus on what I have to do. And then they are saying that I've abandoned them and abandoned, you know what I mean? So mental health, ladies and gentlemen, is actually a big deal. It's a problem. And I know Nigeria can use mental health professionals. So that's what my boss, her name is Teresa. I'm going to try and bring her on the program one day to kind of talk a little bit about what she does and maybe how she can help Nigeria, help people in Nigeria. Offer, she's not doing it for free, but something like that. I would like to bring professionals like that together and try to see how I can integrate them into the Nigerian system. I know the Nigerian government can afford health. Well, they can't afford them, but at least if they can bring people in from abroad to come and do short-term consultations, so short-term treatments, wouldn't that be something? CJ is investing. I'm working on that actually, but it will involve compulsory work in Nigeria first. People are stressed, like CJ said. People are stressed in Nigeria. 64% of Nigerians live on less than $2 a day, according to the World Bank. We have some of the youngest workforce in the world that are currently underworked, underutilized, underpaid, underskilled. So if you're a Nigerian abroad watching this, majority of you are my viewers, consider what you can do in Nigeria. Leverage your skill sets. Nigeria may not be able to afford you, but the little you can do goes a long way. And that is the point of what we are doing here as a community at Mberiket, YouTube viewers. I love when you guys reach out and want to do something in Nigeria. I had a consultation session a couple of weeks ago with a Nigerian in the United States. They are more into stocks. They are looking at what they can do in Nigeria, how they can get involved in one way or another, because we cannot all run away forever. And now, to segue into today's topic, it's official. The Nigerian government is now coming out and saying that they are going to start divesting state-owned assets starting in 2026. Divesting means they are going to start looking at certain state-owned assets that they can sell off outright to the private sector. My question to you is, what took so long? Although it's still new, they haven't yet identified those state-owned assets that they are going to sell. They're going to literally put it up in the global marketplace and let companies bid. Both local people in Nigeria, private sector in Nigeria, and also they are opening it up to international investors to come in and buy some of these state-owned assets. Because here is a fact. Here's one thing that we know. The Nigerian government, they are not entrepreneurs. Nigerian government, they can't run businesses. They are not business people. Your average politician is not a businessman. They don't know how to write a business plan to save their lives. They can't justify anything with a business plan. They don't look at it as a business. To run a successful business, you need to have to be able to maintain, you have to be able to attract talent, you have to be able to sustain those talent, and you have to be a force multiplier. So they are starting to realize that it's time for us to let some of these weak assets go. The assets that we've been trying for the past 50 years to manage internally within the country. It's time for them to be sold off to the private sector. And guess what, too? This also helps bring in the revenue that the country needs to grow. But it's not as if they're gonna bring the revenue in now. We go begin buy Benz, begin buy Rolls Royce. Go ask in some weekend where they drive Rolls Royce. We can't use the revenue that we're going to generate from the selling of our assets for consumption. Man, that's what kills me the most. We got to use it to grow Nigeria's systems. It can't be for consumption. You sell off an asset now, the next thing you know, you're buying the latest Rosa Royce. So Wole Edun, who is Wole Edun, is the Minister of Finance. Ladies and gentlemen, Finance Minister Wole Edun, he said starting, actually, let me share. Let me share. Give credits to whom credit is due. This is from Arise News Television. This article was written yesterday. When I saw this article, I'm like, well done. It's time for us to start getting rid of these state-owned assets. Like I told you guys, we still don't know what they are planning, though, on selling. We still don't know. But this is a good start. So the finance minister, Wole Edun, said yesterday, told Arise News that the government, the Nigerian government, both federal, state, county, anything that's government owned, they're going to start looking at certain and looking at identifying certain assets for sale as Nigeria goes out into the open marketplace to court private investors and partnerships. I am all about partnerships that makes sense. I'm not about weird, strange partnerships like the one that we have with Iran right now. Nigeria needs to be careful. I don't want this to be about Iran, but there's you actually let me remove this for a second. Because I want you guys to see me when I'm talking about this. Nigeria right now needs to be careful who she partners with. Because we know right now the US-Iran tension is happening right now. And I know that Nigeria, in one way or another, has a trade agreement or a trade partnership with Iran. You see, to me, Iran is a high risk. I'm not saying Nigeria shouldn't do business with them, but you know, Iran is kind of one of those places where you're like, you know what, man, you're hot right now. Yeah, heat's day on you right now. I beg, make we chill small. That's how Nigeria should be handling Iran right now. Because guess what? My president, President Donald Trump, where most of you don't like, but me, I like the guy. I like the guy because the guy, they help Nigeria. Based on that alone, everything else I don't care. But as far as Nigeria is concerned, DT, they help. DT, they help. You know they help. So let me put on my military hat for a second and let you guys know. This is how you know when the United States is getting ready to strike a country. Follow the U.S. Navy. Follow naval movement. The US right now is readying another aircraft carrier to move over to that Iran area. That's usually when you know. It's the same thing not happen with Maduro. Follow naval movement. Think about it. It's same thing happened in Mogadishu back then when Clinton set up an aircraft carrier next to Mogadishu. Say, if we not release that guy, Mogadishu will be wiped off the face of this planet. So the US and Iran right now they're not vibing. And Nigeria just needs to be careful because Nigeria doesn't want to be collateral damage. Because I'm telling you, when that blast come, man, Nigeria go feel am. A all-dependent country like Nigeria. 90% of our export is all dependent. And once the US attacks a nation, they attack everybody that does business with that nation. Look at what's happening with Russia right now. Russia is selling everything right now. Since we're talking about divesting. Russia is selling everything. They just recently sold off an oil company to US because they are sanctioned. They can't move. They can't. When you are sanctioned, you are crippled. So all I'm saying is Nigeria should be cautious in its dealings with Iran because Iran right now it doesn't look good. I hope it doesn't come down to where there will be military conflict with the US and Iran because when there's military conflict, you are forced naturally to choose a side. You can't be neutral. And if Nigeria is in bed with US and they're in bed with Iran, Nigeria is going to have to make a decision. Are you going to continue with US helping you, or are you going to, you got to pick a side. You can't be neutral. So all I'm saying is Nigeria needs to be careful. And also, if we are, this one that we're talking about divesting government-owned assets, you got to also be careful who you sell to. You got to also be careful. Which country are you selling to? Because I'm telling you right now, the majority of the people who are buying these assets will not be Nigerian-based entrepreneurs. They just don't have the capital resources. They just don't have the money. So you better bet that this divesting of state-owned assets is going to primarily go to international investors like TJ and me. You see me, I'm all about joint partnerships. Listen, if you're watching this right now, you want to go and you want to buy state-owned Nigeria, come to me. Let's see what we can do. Let's joint partnership. Let's stay on this. You see, I'm that asset to Nigeria, man. If when I want to enter Nigeria, now your boy now. Who else? You know, I've always kind of looked at myself like, man, let me build myself up to the point where if anybody who is serious wants to tap into the Nigerian market and they ask, who is that one person I need to talk to? I want them to think about reaching barricades. Seriously. It's already starting to happen. Most people want to get in. The other day, I had somebody from India saying, reached out to me. I'm trying, they want to get into the Nigerian market. People in India are reaching out to your boy. But getting into the Nigerian market, you got to be patient. It's not something where you can just jump in right away and expect results right away. You got to be patient. You got to be patient. Because there's a lot of, what would I call it? How can I describe this? Yes, BSOs going on. Bright, shiny objects. That's where a lot of you fall prey. When you get caught up in BSOs, let me tell you, the best businesses to do in Nigeria are the non-sexy businesses. If it's a bright, shiny object, no go. Find something that is not sexy. Find something that's gritty, that where you can go and get your hands dirty, That's where the real opportunity is in Nigeria. It's not sexy. I want to go and build a nice building. I want to get into tech space and do. Do you know a sector that is not sexy? The energy sector is not sexy right now. Nobody can crack that code right now. That energy sector. Nobody can crack them right now. That's a non-sexy sector because it's going to take you time on the ground. Because let's say right now you want to get into the energy sector in Nigeria, you have the land space for you. CJ, you like solar, you want to build a solar farm. All that is fine, but you still got to get permits. That grind, that's the kind of business opportunity that there is in Nigeria. It's not, let me go do fintech. Most of those so-called fintech companies self are not really, they are not true financial technology businesses. They really, because they don't own that their technology stack, they don't own it. And let's say you want to get into the solar business, guess what? You're still going to have to import the hardware from China. You see, there's a lot of layers now to this. But back to what I'm saying about Mr. Wole Edun, okay, before I share my screen again, like I said, guys, Nigeria, please. Not saying you shouldn't form a partnership with a diplomatic relationship with Iran. Just be careful who you are dancing with. Because the United States and Iran right now, there's a lot going on. And I'm telling you, follow naval movement. I'm telling you this from a US military perspective because I lived it. I lived it. I know what I'm talking about. Follow naval movement, follow aircraft carriers. When Trump says he's deploying an you know Trump not a joke. He does not play game. You saw games. You saw what happened with what he did when we took down the nuclear facility, nuclear enrichment facilities in Iran. You saw what happened. You saw what happened with Maduro. So Tinubu needs to be careful. Nigerian government needs to be careful. I think that so let's move on away from that. I know that was like a different topic altogether, but let's just be mindful in who we associate with. Listen, Nigeria is in a position right now, like I said, we are talking to the West. We have good relationships with the US. We have great relationship with the UK. We have good relationship with Canada. We have good relationship with China. Some relationships, you just gotta have to say, oh boy, Mook will hold off on this relationship until you fix your problem first. And Iran is one of those. So if I were an official in Nigeria right now, I would take your call, I'll take the meeting. But when it comes with anything long-term engagement, I'm just going to tell people in Iran, let this whole thing settle down first. Go and make up with you. Go, go and make up with NATO first. You see what's going on right now with Russia. Russia is isolated. They only have one or two allies. China is one, and I think what? Belarus is another one. Russia would rather be on the other side because I have some Russian friends here in the US. But that is my thing. If Iranians come right now, you know, with this whole government, and they're trying to sell government, Iranians are probably going to try to be there to try and see what they can tap into. I chill on that one. Chill. Relax. So let's go back to this article with Mr. Wole Edun. You see, Wole Edun, you're talking. I didn't like what you did though at Davos when they were asking you about uh, how would you partner with the US? Wole Edun just kind of bobbed and weaved like Muhammad Ali, just kind of dancing around the topic. He wasn't really answering the question. You see, now that Mr. Wole Edun is saying that Nigeria is beginning to to identify certain state-owned assets that they want to say. Where do you think that the buyers are coming from? Now, America. So, hey, chill. I've told you guys this before. Say what you want about the US of A, where I'm sitting. The United States of America right now is still the best partner any nation can have. So now, luckily for us, we are in good terms with the US. So maybe they start shopping around some of these state-owned assets. And I'm going to give you guys an idea of what I personally think should be sold. I'm going to tell you guys what I think should be sold. But before we get into that, let's see what else this article talks about. So Nigeria's federal government will commence the sale of selected state-owned assets to private investors in 2026. Where my water day? I don't bring water today. Oh, by the way, I'm feeling a lot better. Guess what the solution was? Ibuprofen. Because I tried Dayquil, didn't work. Tried NyQuil, didn't work. And then I took ibuprofen. Now I'm feeling a lot better. I'm not 100% though. I'm probably like maybe 85% right now. But I think by the end of today, I should be back to 100. So according to Bloomberg, Edu spoke on Monday during an interview on the sidelines of the AIUA conference. What is AIUA? Is that Africa Summit? What is that? For emerging economies in Saudi Arabia. He said the government is currently working on determining which assets will be offered for sale and the timelines for the transactions. Quotes, the plan is to offer some assets in 2026. That's pretty much all the information that there is. We're going to offer some assets for sale in 2026, but Edun doesn't go as far as to identify the assets that they're planning on offering. So he added that recent reforms have positioned Nigeria as an attractive destination for investors. What we have put in place has made Nigeria very competitive in terms of the economic conditions and very attractive in terms of the incentives for investors. I think investors are now more comfortable to invest in Nigeria. Mr. Edu said, we are interested in private-public partnerships, PPP, optimization of our assets by having others come and invest. So if you guys paid attention to what happened in Davos, actually, let me finish this and then I'll unclick and then unshare and then we can go back to. So on January 22nd, Edun said Nigeria is pursuing a job-rich and inclusive growth. Of course, we got to tie. We need jobs, though. We need jobs. Right now, the government of the current administration of Nigeria is unable to tie jobs to all these investments. You see, this is good because this would actually create homegrown jobs. Noting that investments remain critical to boosting productivity and expanding the economy. The minister also said the country remains on the path of economic reforms aimed at restoring policy credibility and microeconomic stability. That's the end of this article. So here's the deal. PPP, that private-public partnership that he said, very, very important. So if you guys notice what happened in Davos 2026, I covered it now on the platform. Nigeria has a Davos house. That was actually put in place by the private sector. Local companies in Nigeria, private sector, international companies, they were the ones who paid for that Davos house for that 1 week. I want to go to Davos, man. It's in my future. I want to be there in the Swiss Alps, covering enterprise news and enterprise. Man, I love business. I love CEOs. I love decision makers. I love CIOs, CFOs, CTOs. If you're a C-suite executive, I'm your guy. So jobs. This is good for job creation because Nigeria today, we are still struggling with tying job creation to all of our investment push. So according to this article, we really don't know what Wale Edun is planning on doing. Active Dodger, what's up? CJ. Hello, Active. But this is what I'm thinking, folks, that Nigeria should focus on in terms of what I think should be sold. Let us start with the big elephant in the room. You see, now is not the time to reinvent the wheel. As much as I want Nigeria to diversify away from oil and gas, oil and gas sector is still the primary driver of Nigeria's economy, ladies and gentlemen. The oil and gas sector is. NNPC has to be sold, in my honest, humble opinion. If I were Mr. Wale Edu or advising Mr. Wale Edu, sell NNPC. Nigeria needs more than one oil refinery. Right now, Dangote is our only privately owned oil company in Nigeria, oil refining company. We need more. We only have one. The United States of America has 135 fully functioning oil refineries spread across the United States of America. From large corporations to private enterprises, Nigeria needs to look. I am not anti-oil because my uncle is in the oil and gas space. I am pro diversification. But they say there's a time and place for everything. Now is not the time to be building industries. Let's look at what we currently own that we are incapable of managing right now. We are currently incapable of managing and growing Nigeria's private sector oil companies. NNPC is the first to go. Before we even start looking at other sectors, let's rein in NNPC and sell NNPC. Let's privatize NNPC. Because now I don't know which one they do. Warri Refinery, if it's state-owned, has to be sold. It needs to go. Let's privatize it. Let's sell it. If you want to sell it to Dangote, we don't care. But actually, maybe that's another thing too. Maybe Dangote will just go and buy an NPC. But we need competition though. Because we cannot let Dangote monopolize things. Another guy too in Nigeria right now that's making waves is Rabiu, the CEO of BUA. He's got a refinery right now in Akwa Ibom State. Maybe with NNPC can be sold to BUA. Or maybe, or perhaps, we bring in international companies to come in, buy NNPC, and then we got to gut that crap, gut it up, and rebuild it. Let me tell you, you guys, we've said this before. Nigeria has potential, Nigeria has potential. And I've been telling you though, potential doesn't pay bills though. So we need to identify all of the state-owned assets in the oil and gas sector and let's sell every one of them. Because Nigeria, this government of Nigeria cannot maintain oil and gas assets. So that has to go. Oil and energy. Oh, number two, the power sector also needs to be sold. Niger Delta Power Holding Company, any assets, any energy asset, power assets owned by the government needs to be sold. Sell it to the private sector, man. It's gotta go. Maybe we don't, you can't sell the land it's on, but you got to sell the operations. So oil and gas needs to go. The power sector needs to be privatized. Now, airports, unfortunately, that one is tough. I don't want a privatized airport. But here's what I would like, though, to happen. Airports like Muritala Mohammed, Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, Kano International Airport. You see, the airport is usually the front door. It's the front porch to a nation. If you really want to know how a nation is doing, the first glimpse of that nation is their airport. When someone lands at Muritala Mohammed, what's the first thing that they see? Kudos, though. You guys are doing a good job in terms of remodeling the airports. But the airports cannot be handled by the federal government of Nigeria. Right now, the federal government of Nigeria owns Muritala Mohammed Airport. They own Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport. That needs to change. Airports should be owned and operated by the state, meaning actually by the city. Look, Harry Reid International Airport, where I live, is owned by the city of Las Vegas, Clark County. It's not even owned by the state, it's owned by the city. John F. Kennedy Airport in New York is not owned by the US government. John F. Kennedy Airport in New York is owned by the city of New York. We have got to decentralize Nigeria. I'm not saying the government shouldn't have. Obviously, Trump has oversight. If things were to go left, Trump can come in and shut things down. It's kind of like what happened in 9/11 when security was handled by private sector. You saw what happened with that. Now the US government handles the security of personnel at all US airports, the TSA. But Muritala Mohammed needs to be owned and operated by the city of Lagos. Nnamdi Azikiwe needs to be owned and operated by the FCT. Nigerian ports, same thing. There's no reason we should only have two functioning ports. Well, you can, it depends on who you ask though. Are the ports really functioning? You're looking at Tinkan in Lagos, you're looking at Apapa, and then you're looking at on a port in, what do you call it? On a port in River State. That needs to also be privatized, maybe with oversight from the government, but it needs to be privatized. The financial institutions of Nigeria, like the Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, needs to be privatized. So it will be, like I said, that's my pick for what I would like for the Nigerian government to identify and sell. What are your picks? What would you like to see the government sell? What assets? We've given you guys the category oil and gas. Number one, we need to rein in all of the oil and gas assets owned by the Nigerian government and get rid of them. Then we got to look at the power sector. Oh my God. Could you imagine if Nigeria had uninterrupted power? how we can go in this world competing at a global space if we had uninterrupted power. So those are my, I mean, I've shared with you my picks. Feel free to share your picks in the chat box. CJ says it seems to be helping that SHIT whole country. Which country be that one now? If you see how Cuba is suffering right now, Cuba is suffering now because Cuba was dependent on Maduro, the Venezuelan government. Remember, I think about 32 or 35 Cuban guards were killed. They were the ones guarding Maduro. So Maduro, Venezuela was actually keeping the lights on at Cuba. Now that Donald Trump is the acting president of Venezuela, he's basically shutting everything down at Cuba. They're trying to bring Cuba down. Honestly, I think the only people helping Cuba right now are China and Russia. Who else? What other allies does Cuba have? Is it Cuba or Cuba? Oh boy, talking about Cuba. Me, I want me some Cuban cigars, man. I want some Cuban cigars. They make good cigars. They are illegal in the US though. Cuban cigars are illegal. But man, hey, well, you good, man. I'm building my tobacco stash, you. I love cigars and I love cigars paired with nice bourbon, man. Golly. It will be critical minerals. But Nigeria, but here's the thing: the minerals are that's just raw metals and raw minerals. So we can't unfortunately sell off minerals. That's not what they meant by state-owned assets. No, I beg. You cannot do it. You can lease, and that's one thing too that Rabiu said. Rabiu, the owner of Boa Foods and Boa Cement and Boa Refinery, he said that we need to start becoming more of a value-added nation instead of selling our raw materials. That's what Nigeria is doing right now. All these so-called partnerships that we've been forming, we are basically just hedging them based on our raw minerals. Come in, give us money, take all the minerals you need. Maybe you do a 20-year lease or I'm talking about mining rights. The same thing is happening in Akwa Ibom right now. The Chinese are the ones that own all the quarries in Akwa Ibom right now. They come in and they'll give the Akwa Ibom government money, obviously through FG, federal government partnerships. And now they're the ones that are overseeing. So all the construction that's happening right now in Akwa Ibom State, the Chinese are the ones supplying the sand. They're the ones supplying the granite. So that's what Rabiu was saying, that we need to get out of that and start. And maybe, guys, by divesting and selling these state-owned assets is going to really, really help us start manufacturing and building homegrown industries. So no, they are not going to be selling minerals. We should probably maybe even lay low on that too. Bring those companies in. When you open up the private sector and you start privatizing this asset, now guess what? They are going to need certain minerals to build the power plants. They're going to need certain minerals to build products that Nigeria can actually sell. We need to start becoming a nation of products, not a nation of raw materials. Obama even said it when Obama was in office. Now, when people look at Africa, the first word out of their mouth is extraction. What can I go to extract? Is extraction. They don't look at Africa, the African continent, as a continent that actually produces products that people can use. for the end user, products for the end user. Africans generally don't do that. We have mineral resources, and the only reason why we are leasing mineral rights to these companies is because we just don't have the assets and the infrastructures to be able to mine them, process them into finished goods that the world can use. So great move. This is actually out of everything that Tinubu has done since he's been in office. This announcement of the divesting, identifying, and sale of state-owned assets to me is music to my ears. This is the pathway forward for Nigeria. But we also have to be disciplined. Once these assets are sold, how do we manage the money? Do we reinvest it back into Nigeria? You know, some of that money is also going to be used to service the debts. Remember, Nigeria right now owes almost $50 billion, and we only have $25 billion in the bank. So I know that some of the funds is going to be used to settle those debts. We need to build roads. We got to reinvest the money though back into the Nigerian economy. Now is not the time for you to sell assets and then go and start buying properties abroad. They are cracking down on those too, though. Kudos to the global systems in identifying fraud and international. Those days are kind of at an end right now, where foreign African officials go abroad and start buying up assets and buying up properties. We got to invest those funds back into Nigeria. We need to skill Nigerian workforce. Now, the Nigerian workforce right now is underskilled at the skill sets that the world is looking for these days. So we got to reskill the workforce. We got to upskill the workforce. And we also have to pay better. We also have to pay livable wages. Most of the wages in Nigeria, people can't live off of them. Most of the wages in Nigeria are survival wages. Most Nigerians today don't have emergency cash reserves. If God forbid something crazy happens right now, they don't have emergency cash reserve. These are the little changes that we need to start doing as a nation. But to start with this, I like what Wale Edu is doing. Obviously, he has the backing of Bola Tinubu in identifying and selling these assets. Now, I'll tell you guys, once the news comes out on what the Nigerian government is planning on selling, I'm going to do a podcast about it. So you guys are aware. So you're aware of what's happening. Thank you, CJ. I'm feeling better. Still a little on that though. I'm like 85%. What assets would be good to sell versus would concern you? Like I said, we got to get rid of all of the oil and gas assets, state-owned oil and gas assets, because through the years we've shown that we are unable to profit off of them. We've just shown that we can't manage the oil and gas assets, so that really needs to go. That should be the first thing. As much as I want Nigeria to diversify away from oil and gas, but they got to be sold and then use that money to build other sectors. Active said NNPC is the jewel of Nigeria. They should not. They have to. They have to. What jewel of Nigeria? How many barrels of oil does NNPC produce a day? NNPC is not a refine. They don't refine now. They don't refine. They are responsible for the crude oil that Nigeria exports to the world. But NNPC today does not refine. The only refiner we have right now is Dangote. NNPC must be sold. Must. I'll be the first to lobby. They must be sold. My dad was an NNPC fellow and they knew what they were doing till it became extremely politicized. My uncle in the oil and gas sector worked for Mobil. He retired as an executive at Mobil. He's actually still involved in the oil and gas space today. They should have environmental protection regulations. I'm pretty sure that they do. The average Nigerian probably doesn't know, but they do. Without those environmental protection regulations, I don't think Nigeria can export its crude oil. These protections have to be in place for let's say buyers like the US to be able to buy oil from you. They have to make sure that these regulations are in place for you to that protects the people. They got to all of these are part of the criteria needed. We are not just going to go and just start selling crude oil. There has to be those protections in place. I'm not an oil and gas guy. I don't know that much about the sector other than what I know through my uncle. But I'm pretty sure these regulations are there. Will Trump buy the refineries? Trump himself can't buy. I don't think Trump has any interest in. Let's look at the Trump organization. I don't think Trump has any um, holdings in oil. Trump is a hospitality real estate guy. Let's look at Trump's portfolios, guys. No, I don't think Trump is interested. So this is the this is a Donald Trump organization. He's not interested in oil and gas, so he builds golf courses and let's look at this. Let this pop up on my screen for a second. I want you guys to chew on that for a minute. So that's the Trump organization's website. So as you can see, it doesn't have any oil and gas in its portfolio. Oh. So that's Donald Trump's website. So let's look at his holdings. So he has hotels, he has realty, he has commercial buildings. I'm a golfer, so he has golf courses. He has estates. He has merchandising and residential. Digital assets. Trump owns Truth Social. It says World Liberty Financial. Does he have a bank? So he's building a future of finance in the digital era. Okay, so he has a fintech platform. These are all Trump's holdings. This is his portfolio. Look at the golf though, man. Look at that. Look at that grass. Look at that. He's all over. He's in Scotland, Ireland, Florida, Dubai, Scotland, California, New Jersey. Trump is set. DT is set. I don't think he wants to be in the oil space. And if he is, it will be indirectly. I don't think he wants to be running day-to-day operations in the oil and gas sector. All right. Will Trump buy the refineries? No, Trump is not going to buy the refineries. If anything, US companies will probably more than likely be the ones buying those refineries. But some of them are also exiting. Shouldn't the states maintain some ownership over oil and gas? No, they need to get rid of them. The United States government doesn't own oil and gas companies. They don't. I mean, so those oil and like the Exxon Mobil's, they are American corporations. the Exxon Mobils, Conoco, they are American organizations. The people who are more than likely are going to buy this are maybe the Exxon Mobils and the Conocos, or maybe the Total Energies or the Chevrons. Those are the ones. But a government itself, they're not necessarily interested in that. I know Saudi Aramco is more of a, it's a publicly traded, so maybe they'll open it up for private sector ownership. But Nigeria has just proven time and time again. Remember, NNPC has been around since we were babies. And just as a result of poor management, is at a point now where NNPC doesn't refine a single drop of oil. They facilitate the selling of crude oil to companies like Dangote and other international buyers, but they don't produce a single drop. They don't refine a single drop of crude oil. So those have to go, in my own personal opinion. Let's privatize it. Obviously, Nigeria still has oversight. Think about this. The government of Nigeria still owns the land. They own the deposits, but they can sell off the operational aspect of the business needs to be sold off. I hope you don't underprice them. DT has taken enough from USA pocket. For where? If nothing else, DT has given USA money. Look at all the tariffs, man. Ah, yesterday, I left something out, Seth. I said the US makes money through taxes. The US also makes money through tariffs. I'm not, listen, I'm not a DT guy like that. I didn't vote for him. I voted for Kamala, and I voted for Biden, and I voted for Hillary. I never voted for DT once. But I see why Americans like the guy. DT is not, DT doesn't take salary as the president of the US. He donates his income. He doesn't take a single penny from the US. DT knows how to make money. He's not perfect, but the guy knows how to make money. The US economy is the richest it's been in God knows how long today. Look at all the companies from all the international companies that are coming into the United States to invest. Some are actually pulling out, though. And I know China is pulling out of the hotel. What is this? Waldorf Astoria. Let me pull it up. Waldorf Astoria, one of the most iconic Waldorf Astoria. I didn't know the Chinese own this. Okay, let me show you guys this. Show you guys this. So if you know, the Waldorf Astoria was actually owned by the Chinese government. And now, because of all the tensions that's happening between the United States of America and China, China is exiting the luxury hotel space. They are selling the Waldorf Astoria in New York. It says here the sale would be part of a recent wave of Chinese property owners pulling out of US markets. What's probably going to end up happening is somebody somewhere in the US, a US owned what do you call it? Consortium is probably going to end up buying the Waldorf Astoria. It's based in New York and Manhattan. Beautiful hotel. There's a Waldorf Astoria here in Vegas. Waldorf Astoria website. Let's look at the website, see what's up. Iconic, iconic hotel, man. Owned by the Chinese. So there's a Waldorf Astoria, like I said, in Las Vegas. I think the Chinese are asking like $4 or $5 billion for it. So they are pulling out. I mean, they were embarrassed by what happened with they were embarrassed by what happened with what do you call it in Venezuela now. When none of their anti-weapon this thing worked. Super embarrassed. Same thing, Russia too. Embarrassed. And all of you hoteliers in Nigeria, should we talk about hotel in Nigeria? All you hoteliers, you need to start looking at getting inspirations and ideas from like places like this. Not just hoteliers, you too, CJ, those people entering the real estate space. Something like this is where you get like your interior design ideas. You got to start from the top down. Look at brands like the Waldorf Astoria. Something like this can easily be replicated in Nigeria. For all those of you in the Airbnb sector, just go in, look at the website of organizations like the Waldorf Astoria, Carlston, and get design ideas. Look at that bed. Look at that door. Look at that little closet. Eh? So anyway, the Chinese are getting out of they are pulling out of America because right now they're just not getting along with Trump. But it's okay. I think, eventually this hotel will be sold to a US company. Maybe even Trump self can even go and buy the world off. Just never know. Okay, what else? Do you think it's important for Nigeria to own some property rights? Like what specific property? You mean state owned? I'm not saying we shouldn't own some state owned properties, they should, but you got to look at what you currently own that you've been unable to manage for the past 60 years. Those have to be sold. These guys, they know their strengths and their weaknesses. Wale Edu knows what he's talking about. Unfortunately, we've tried to manage this by ourselves. We can't do it. They're actually losing money by continuing to optimize something that shouldn't exist. What should not exist right now is state ownership of all refineries in Nigeria. They need to be sold to people who can manage and run them. And then once they are sold, maybe they go the IPO route, like what Dangote is doing, and opening up to Nigerian owners. You see, when we have buy-in, Dangote is smart. Launch an IPO, let Nigerians be share owners. Right now, I will never ever invest in anything that's state owned in Nigeria, and neither should you. Look at the ownership structure of your investment. If it is owned by the Nigerian government, don't you do it. If it is owned by the state government, don't you do it. Look, Ibom Air is currently owned by the state of Akwa Ibom right now. If Ibom Air were to go public, I know they buy. I'm not buying Ibom Air's IPO if they go public tomorrow, and I will advise you to don't do it because it's state owned. Don't trust anything that is state owned in Nigeria or government owned in Nigeria. Don't do it. Because history have shown us that we don't have maintenance culture. We don't know how to run a business. I'm talking about the Nigerian government, they don't. But you can invest in a company like Dangote Oil when the IPO comes out later this year because it's a privately owned organization, not state owned. Okay, what's up before we go? You're kidding about the tariffs, right? Listen, the tariffs work. The tariffs work. Nigeria is actually even got a great deal. Initially, we were at what, 14%? Now we are at 15%. That is not too bad. It's not too bad. Is the tariffs not working right now? Are companies not, the world turn red? The sky is still blue the last time I checked, correct? The sky is still blue. The sky didn't turn yellow because of tariffs. People are still doing business. Because what is the alternative? Is it going to be forever? We don't know. The next administration, right now, Newsom is running on the Democratic side, the current governor of New York, sorry, current governor of California, Gavin Newsom. He is a potential, they are grooming him to be the face of the Democratic Party. So Newsom can get in office in 3 years and completely wipe out Trump's tariff policy. So none of these things are permanent. And that's the beauty of a democracy. You know what I mean? So we have 3 more years of this going on. Maybe the way that businesses can kind of get by with the tariffs thing is maybe optimize their supply chain, maybe stop carrying what's not working and focusing only on what's working, pulling capital away from um, poor decisions and putting that capital into something you can actually scale. This tariff thing is really forcing a lot of businesses to optimize their business. People are getting rid of a lot of waste. It's forcing people to tighten up, clean out that closet. So it's not entirely a bad thing, guys. I want to believe you are joking, DT, so that I can sleep tonight. I'm not joking, I'm serious. As serious as a heart attack. What are our strengths? You mean in Nigeria? Our strengths in Nigeria are currently, like I said, unutilized. We have the population to be able to support manufacturing. We have the population to be able to support investment in terms of labor. But having population doesn't necessarily mean that you have the skill set. If artificial intelligence, if data centers right now were to be built across Nigeria, everybody right now is investing in data centers, AI data centers. If they were to build data centers across Nigeria right now, are we well equipped, talent-wise, to support the development of that data center? We are not. And that tells you one thing. We are still relatively underskilled when it comes to technology at the highest level. If you want to do construction today, you can find laborers, you can find people to carry cement and sand and all that stuff. But from a technical standpoint, we have the workforce, we have the people, but they are still under skilled and under trained. You say Wale do. Okay, what I meant by Wale do knowing our strengths and weaknesses is this. I'll give you an example. Weakness is this. The strength is this. We have all these assets that we know can compete at the global scale. Example, we have the Warri refinery. That's a strength. We have NMPC. That's a strength. But the weakness is the mismanagement. That's the weakness. The weakness can also come with the volatility of Nigeria. That's a weakness. When a region is not stable, that's a weakness. When a region is not stable, all companies generally wouldn't go there. So Nigeria has to find a way to guarantee the safety. And that is also going to be part of the criteria. If I am buying, let's say I want to go and buy an NMPC and I look at all of these places that they're operating from, who is going to guarantee the safety of my workers? I got to factor that in. Do I have to bring in my own personal security, or is it going to be a combination of my own personal security and Nigerian security? You know what I'm saying? I have to be able to guarantee the safety of my workers and also have to be able to guarantee the safety of my assets. Because you don't want a situation right now where you buy something and then Nigerians will just go and start gutting it and stealing. Same thing that happened is going on right now with Dangote right now. Dangote hires more. He said it himself. I hire more protection, more security personnel than I actually hire workers. It should not be that way. So the biggest weakness in Nigeria is just mismanagement. We don't really know how to manage our national assets. We also don't know how to turn our national assets into products that the world can use. If we knew how to do that, we would not be leasing out mining rights. Nigeria needs to move away from that extraction only destination where just come in, take what you have, go and process it where you came from. And we need to start processing in country. And when you process in country, guess what you do? You create in country jobs, long lasting in country jobs. When you extract, you don't. How would I advise the government to invest the revenue from the sales? That's a very, very good question. I think the key thing is to leverage our strengths. Again, we have the people, we have the population. You see, when a high percentage of the population are between 18 and 34, that's a young population compared to, let's say, Chinese. The Chinese, they have an aging population. That is also part of the reason why you're seeing a lot of manufacturing factories coming into Nigeria because everybody is coming to tap that young population that Nigeria has. So they'll bring everything that they have, then they'll come in and train our young workers. So I think part of that revenue should go primarily into a knowledge-based investment. Knowledge-based investment. And a critical knowledge-based investment is the upskilling and the reskilling of the local workforce. There've got to be programs like that in place. Come and learn, as an example, learn artificial intelligence. Come and learn how to go from manual construction to automated constructions. Do you know how to drive a forklift? Do you know how to drive a payloader? These are all knowledge-based educational training investments that Nigerian funds, that revenue can go into. We got to get into certifications. How can we better certify our body shops in Nigeria? All those mechanic shops that we have in Nigeria, they are not regulated and they are not certified. When you have a certified body shop, it will give car owners the confidence to be able to take their car into this body shop knowing that this is a certified mechanic shop where I know that they're going to diagnose the issue that I have with my car. They're going to fix the issue that I have. So my car can be on the road. We need that knowledge base investment in the country. It's all about knowledge. And then we also have to create industries where they can then apply what they've learned. That's the way. I would say we need to reinvest some of this revenue that we're going to get from this. It's not going around and buying a fancy car or building more hotels that then you are going to power with a generator. The power sector, I'm telling you, can actually create a lot of jobs in Nigeria once we are able to solve that power the energy industry. But these guys need to be trained. They need to know what they're doing. And it's a constant, you guys, man, if you worked in, when I used to work in the corporate world, it was a constant refresher course. They will send you to management school to go and learn how to lead people. It was a constant, I mean, on my calendar. It was like almost every 2 weeks. Okay, Rich, you are going here to go and train for this. We are training for sales here. There's a merchandising training here in Utah. There's a management training in Las Vegas. It was constantly training. Corporations too. It's just not just all about government too. Companies too should get into that habit. I've never worked for a Nigerian company before, so I don't know if they have that program. But it's constantly training. Now, guess what American corporate companies are doing today? They are training their people on artificial intelligence, something that Nigeria hasn't even scratched yet. You go to all these conferences that I go to. You see, when I go to conferences, and you guys know I go to a lot. When I go to enterprise conferences, guess what I'm doing? I'm upskilling. I'm reskilling. I'm retraining. I'm going out there to discover new things. I'm going out there to make sure that I'm not getting left behind. All that is what? Me investing in knowledge. It's not as if I have some godfather that pays. All of this comes from our revenue, our company revenue. That's part of me going out into the world, retraining myself, seeing what's out there, seeing where the world is going, seeing where capital is going, seeing what's new that we can tap into. It's a constantly thing that you have to keep doing over and over and over again. Otherwise, it's very easy to get left behind. So when we have a smart workforce, and I'm going to end with this, we need an intelligent workforce. We also need industries where the intelligence can be applied. When you don't have industries where the intelligence and knowledge can be applied, you just have a lot of smart people with nothing to do. And Nigeria, we have a lot of smart people. Everybody for Nigeria be doctor this. Even that one said suspect. Are these honorary doctorships? I mean, how does somebody that doesn't know how to speak English, how does somebody that doesn't know how to put two sentences together be a doctor? Do you guys ever wonder? Person no fit speak English, he be doctor this, doctor that. Do you know what it takes to be? You got to have a PhD. You have to have a thesis and defend that thesis. So I'm kind of wondering, where are these doctorships going? That one a different podcast. So before we wrap up, as long as whoever buys the assets hire locally and the money goes to our people, yeah, of course they're going to hire locally. They can't import workers. It's going to take a long time though, CJ. Because remember, let's say these foreign companies come into Nigeria and buy the state-owned assets, they have to bring in their own management team to train the local workforce. I'll give you an example. When I was on the road in project management for Walmart, we traveled as a team of 4 PMs, 4 project managers, and 1 director. That was our team. That was our cluster. So everybody had their own cluster. And then we would go into these communities. And then let's say we'll go into a Walmart in Trinidad, Colorado, a population of 6,000 people. And then we would go in, and then what we'll do is we will work with that store to recruit local talent. And then when the local, let's say we're going to need, we're going to be here for 3 months. Just give me an example. And in order for us to be able to turn this store around, we're going to need 50 people, well-versed across multiple disciplines. So what we do is we'll then work with the HR departments of that store, and we'll tell them, These are the skills that we are looking for. We don't do the recruiting, we don't do the hiring. We will just tell the store, this, we need 50 people, we need them across these skill sets. Then they will go out into the community because that's where they're from. That is their own community. We are just visitors. Then they will recruit, they will screen, they will interview, they will background check, and then they will deliver to us 50 candidates, 50 workers, all screened, interviewed, background checked, everything done. And then it is the job of the four project managers to then train the 50 workers that they give us to deliver the solutions that we want. That's how it's going to work in Nigeria. These international companies are going to come into country with their core management team, and then they are going to tell, this is what we need. We need electricians. We need plumbers. We need painters. We need roofing people. We need glass installers. And then they will work with a recruitment firm within Nigeria to deliver all these people with these skill sets to them. And then they will train them. So in our case, with the four project managers, I think the most I ever had to manage was like 30 people in one day. It was a lot, man. And I had multiple projects happening within that location. I was literally going from, I will spend 30 minutes with this team, go and spend another 30 minutes with that team, go and spend another 30 minutes with that. By the time I come to the original team, they've messed up something that I have to fix. And that was my day. But guess what? At the end of every project, all of those candidates, the one that made it, because it's not out of the 50 that we brought on, we will probably lose 50% because they just were not fit to do the job. And then we will fire them. We will fire them. Some will just quit naturally because they just were not fit. But I'm telling you, at the end of each project, those who made it through had a career. That's usually how it works. Because I'm not going to spend 2 billion to buy a state asset and then using local people to manage my, I not know, I go bring my own abroad talent. Now abroad talent go be the decision maker as a period. Because it's my investment, not yours. You don't think we should invest revenue in power? We can invest revenue in power, but you need skilled people though to run that. So it can be done parallel. It can be a parallel thing. You still need smart people to be able to run your power-based investments. As long as whoever buys the asset higher local, that's what they're going. I can just give you an example of what we did when I was on the road with Walmart. It's going to be mostly local talent, force multiplier. So, like in our case, we had four project managers managing a team of 50 local workers. But remember, to those local workers too, they also have to perform. Just because you are a local worker doesn't mean you have a guaranteed position. You also have to perform the duties of your job. If you don't know what you are doing or you cannot keep up, they are going to let you go. They are going to let you go. Nigeria should learn AI, but for now, we should focus on manual work. No, I beg. No, 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 I beg. We got to get out of that manual work stuff. That's also what's killing Nigeria right now. We got to get out of manual. If anything, use AI to help boost your whatever you're doing manually, but we got to get out of manual. Manual is not the future. Next 5 years, so that people can earn and increase GDP. Guess what? Jobs is what builds GDP, isn't it? But we need to have jobs in Nigeria. But we need to start. I like what Rabiu is doing with. We want Nigeria to focus more on building local businesses, like he built with his cement. And you guys remember, Dangote Cement was originally wasn't it a state-owned facility before they sold it to Dangote? I'm talking about Dangote Cement, not Dangote Petroleum. Same thing with Rabiu too. They sold off, Obasanjo sold off some state-owned cement factories to Dangote and Rabiu. So we need to have those in place. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Already an hour and 41 minutes into it. I really appreciate you. I'll be back tomorrow with the final episode for this week, so I can give you guys something to binge upon. I really over the weekend. I really appreciate your time. I'm watching right now through the vertical phone. So wherever this ends up, if you are watching this, if you are not watching this on YouTube, hop to the American YouTube channel. Subscribe to the American YouTube channel. That's our primary platform. I really appreciate you guys. I'm gonna figure out what I want to talk about tomorrow, but we covered a lot today. Thank you so much for your time. I think this is a great thing for Nigeria. We got to get rid of those state-owned assets that we can't manage. Let's put those assets in the hands of capable, competent corporations so we can start building local jobs. Seriously speaking. So we can start building local jobs. But right now, in the current conditions that these state-owned assets are in, okay, for instance, is Ajaokuta steel, is Ajaokuta steel government owned or private? Nigeria needs to bring back its steel sector. Nigeria needs to bring back its textile sector. Nigeria needs a homegrown automobile sector. And I know Innoson right now is doing it with Nord. But I don't understand Innoson's unique selling proposition. Maybe that will be tomorrow's podcast. Maybe. Innoson's unique selling proposition is not clear to me. As a matter of fact, let's talk about Innoson tomorrow. Let's talk about Innoson tomorrow. That's what we're going to talk about. All right. If we have more corporations, we'll have more formalized workers, 100%. But those corporations just can't be federally owned, please. We need to bring in the private sector, whether it's local there in Nigeria or international. We just need to build the private sector in Nigeria right now because we are hurting. We are hurting right now. We don't really have industries, guys. If you think about this, CJ, look at all the companies that America has. You rarely hear of government involvement. It's companies making deals with companies. Google making a deal. Waldorf. It's private companies making deals. You hardly ever hear of government, US government. That is what Nigeria needs. We need to see more private sector and less government. Niger government should only be focused on stabilizing the country. Get rid of the insurgencies. Let Nigeria be a private sector-led nation. And all government has to do is go out and make deals. Man, Nigeria is safe. Calm. This ABC company is doing this. 123 company is doing that. XYZ company is doing this. You know what I mean? Like right now, my cousin wants to open a staffing firm for the healthcare. He would rather do that in Nigeria now. But Nigeria is not enabling. So he's doing it here in the US. Somebody like CJ in the healthcare space can go to Nigeria and do something in the healthcare space. CJ, I already see you right now. I have a vision for CJ right now. She's sharp. Man, if CJ enter Nigeria, if when I give CJ opportunity for Nigeria, man, that's what I'm talking about. You can still just go, CJ. You can still go to Canada and just chill. You know what I'm talking about now. All this money that they make. Let me just go and chill in Canada. But could you imagine if Nigeria was enabling? You would take everything that you know in Nigeria, sorry, everything that you know in Canada, and go and effect it in Nigeria. But the environment has to be enabling for you now. And also because you are not a charity case, the money also has to be right. You are not non-profit. You are a for-profit. You are not a charity. The money also has to be right. But we got to fix the environment. Nigeria has to be an enabling environment. CJ, message me. Let me run. Let me run. I want to go and start my day. Let me run. But message me later. But hey, I appreciate every one of you. I love you guys. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Like I said, tomorrow's podcast, Innocent. Innocent. Let's talk about Innocent tomorrow. The USP, Innocent's unique selling proposition is the issue because me, I don't understand them. Oh. All right, guys, I gotta run. I'll talk to you guys later. CJ, message me if you want. All right, guys, take care.